Hi guys, it's Angela. Welcome back to my channel, Literature Science Alliance, and today I just wanted to do a review of my reading for 2019. Nothing too crazy, just a little informal review over it. I didn't take really strict results, so most of my information I have from Goodreads, but it's still kind of cool. And then I have they're not awards, but I didn't want to do favorite or least favorites of the year because then I wouldn't get to talk about all of these cool books I thought I'd read. So I just have some standout things I wanted to talk about. So first, the overview. I read 67 books last year, which is the most I've ever read in a year. I'm really proud of that. The total was 29,733 pages according to Goodreads, but that's probably not completely accurate. But I still feel pretty impressed with myself. And I kind of did this math myself because I was curious, because I almost exclusively use the library if I can because I am a grad student, and if I had paid for all 67 books, I wouldn't have much money. So I wanted to see how much I got from the library, and it turns out I had borrowed 50 books this year, which is really great. And I don't know, I love libraries. I think they are amazing and a great way to get, into new books. So, yeah. And I guess according to Goodreads, my shortest book, by no surprise, is this graphic novel I read, The True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys. This is a favorite of my brother, Oliver. They love Gerard Way, who, if you don't know, is the lead singer of My Chemical Romance, who apparently are back together. I've been hearing about this a lot, but I had watched Umbrella Academy and really liked that. And when I was out in Portland with my boyfriend, we found this comic at the store, and I hate when cars honk in Boston. But yeah, and I got it for my brother for their birthday, and they were like, "You should read it before you give it to me. It's so good." And I did. And he was right. It was pretty good. I would say I think he tried to do too much, but it was enjoyable and the art's phenomenal. So, and the longest one I read is The Burning White by Brent Weeks, which was the fifth book in the Lightbringer series, and for myself, a satisfying conclusion to the whole story. So that was great. But my average book length was 443 pages, with the most popular book I'd read being Educated, and I'm really not surprised by this. Educated it's a very fast-paced, insane memoir. I gave it to my grandmother for Christmas, and she was like, "This is awesome. You give me good books a lot, but this one's great." So, yeah, that one's insane. And then the least popular is The Parking Lot Attendant, which, again, not surprised. We read this for my local book club, and none of us really liked it. So I'm not surprised that it has lower ratings. It's not that it was bad, it was just mostly meh. So, yeah. And then my average rating is a 4.2, which is good. It means most of my books were 4 or higher, and I like that I've been efficient with myself. And so, yeah, and I also kind of wanted to do a genre breakdown. And I was interested as I was doing this. I realized, I started off the year strong, and I had thought I was doing really good at the beginning of the year, making sure I was diverse. But then by the end of the year, it was just a wall of fantasy. Not that I regret it, but if you look at this chart, my most read category is by far fantasy, followed by science fiction. So that's on brand. That's who I am. So then here are some of the categories I just wanted to highlight. So the best standalone I read this year was The Library at Mount Char. And I brought this up in my top 10 fantasy books. This book, I don't know what I expected, but I could not put this book down. It was so interesting. It has kind of a similar premise to the Umbrella Academy, where you have orphan children who are adopted by this old man who teaches them very specialized skills. And it's a very rough upbringing, and because of that, our main character kind of forms a revenge plot, and that's where we start off and how we see things unfurl, and it's insane and captivating, and I really like it. So yeah, that was my biggest standalone of the year, and I really recommend it if you're okay with kind of dark and gritty stuff. There's definitely some rough scenes in it. And my biggest surprise of the year is actually The Last Wish, the first book of the Witcher series. The Witcher series on a whole was my biggest surprise so far. I've only read the first 2 short story collections, but I was not expecting to fall in love with these characters and these stories. Like, I'm so mad that when a friend of mine 3 years ago was like, "You should read this book," I was like, "It doesn't look interesting," because the art of the original book was not great, which I really should learn. It's not like I love the art for Brandon Sanderson books, and he's my favorite author, so I don't know. I made a mistake, but that is the biggest surprise for me, is just how much I've fallen for this series. It's been amazing, and I'm very excited that I'm still in the middle of discovering everything. So, my best series of the year was the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. This series, you should read it. There's nothing else like it. It's so weird and dark, and you should just read it. And honestly, you shouldn't know that much about it. I don't think, like, you kind of get thrown into the deep end, and I think that's where this book thrives, is where you have to just figure out what's happening. My one thing I would say is it's not plot driven, it's very character and world building driven. So if that's hard for you, I would just keep that in mind. But for me, I was just constantly enjoying everything I was learning, and I am so excited to reread this in like a year or two, because it's really good. But shout out to The Winter Witch and The Burning Right, because they both completed series in great ways, and so I really love those series as well. Actually, I believe both of those series have books that make it onto my top fantasy books list. So it's just the Broken Earth trilogy is a piece of art. Like, all 3 books have won Hugo Awards. And I didn't feel pressure to do it. I just agree. So, yeah. And I also just wanted to highlight an author that I discovered this year that I'm really excited about, and that would be Robert Jackson Bennett. I'm obviously really excited about this author and N.K. Jemisin, who were 2 authors I discovered this year. But Robert Jackson Bennett, I read Foundry Side and the first 2 books of his Defined Cities trilogy, I think is what it's called. And whew, he has a really fun writing style. Like, I'm enjoying myself. None of them have really, like, cracked the 5-star rating for me yet, but I'm excited, and I am counting down the days till I can get the second book in that Foundry Side trilogy, or who knows if it's a trilogy, but that Foundry Side series. I'm very excited. So he's an author I'm really excited about discovering last year. I was really happy I just decided to get that book from the library. So that's been great. So yeah, this was just an informal look of my year in 2019. It was pretty great for me. I had a really good time, and I'm off to a really strong start here in January, although I have yet to find the first 5 out of 5 for my year so far, but I'm hoping the one I'm on, it's the one. But yeah, thanks for listening, and have a great day. Bye.